G'day, legends. Welcome to the Pot Noodle on Celtic Down Under. I'm your host, Jared, and joining me tonight are Shane and Liam. How you going, Shane?
I'm good, thank you, mate. Doing really well. Had a good day at work, which is always awesome, and the weather's cooled off a little bit here, which is nice as well. So, looking forward to catching up with you boys. I guess you could call us, or I could call you my buddies. Looking forward to catching up with my buddies to talk all things Celtic and a few other things.
Ah, brilliant. How you going, Liam?
Good. Before we start, guys, can I just check? I was out in the sun today. I don't have panda eyes, do I? I would hate to have panda eyes. Just the pandas. So I'm thinking about pandas. I don't know why. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah. Saw a lovely shirt in the shops today with a paisley pattern on it. Looked magnificent. And, anyway, how are we
Yeah.
doing? Are we all good?
Liam, I just love the cleverness of that joke because he's talking about panda eyes and what do they call themselves? Bears. So it was a double whammy right there. I don't even think you figured it out. Class, mate, class. Ah, brilliant. We're all going to have a laugh at him, so that'll happen later on. So, yeah, we'll just crack on with the pod. That's for you, Jared, if you tune in. And yeah, so before we get into the game, I'll just bring up some comments already. So, smell the glove. G'day, fellas, and another 100 bites of dust. Sure does. Jerry Burns, morning, lads. I wonder who the next clown at Sevco Land is. Christoph, how are boys and girls? Andrews, g'day, everyone. And Empty Celts, how guys? I'll miss the Belgian waffles every weekend. Yeah, well, we had a pod when he was appointed called it was called Belgian Waffles. Just when the first time he was appointed, and then lost his rag over things, right? So yeah, we had to do it this way with the episode tonight, waffling out of Glasgow, because it's the only way to sum it up. So I think you're all out of waffle jokes now, Shane.
I think
Yeah.
so. It's nice not to get thrown under that bus. So, you're a saint for not doing that.
I was just going to say, I'm disappointed that neither of you have noticed that I am wearing my Philippe Clement t-shirt here in tribute to the great man. I mean, if you look very clearly, you can definitely see the horse's arse if you look closely enough, right?
Come on, Liam. I was waiting for the 5 minute mark before that.
Sorry.
We're all gone. So I smell the glove saying, please get the Hibs game over quick. We'll do our best. So, yeah, Celtic 1, Hibs 2. Not ideal, but what happens for Celtic after an away game in Europe? Usually we come back and it's a tough one. And as I said on Thursday, to go from the wide open spaces at the Allianz Arena to having to go play it, really small, tight, field like Easter Road was always going to be a bit of a struggle. I thought it would be 2-1 or something our way. So I didn't expect us to absolutely flog them. So it's a bit of a tough one. Our starting lineup wasn't much change as much as I thought there'd be. So Casper in goals, then Johnson, Carter Vickers, Trusty, and Taylor. Middle of the park, Kelmack, McGowan, Engels. Up front, Ida, Maida, and Kun. So it was a pretty strong lineup there, Shane. What was your thoughts on the starting lineup and just the first half in general?
Starting lineup, I wasn't too surprised by. It's a league game. I could understand the need to rotate a few bodies, particularly after what was a pretty taxing game in Munich. And, the likes of players coming in like GT and Luke McCowan, you'd be expecting them to play at league level. So selection-wise, I wasn't too surprised. And in fact, I was quite excited to see McCowan come in, like I always am. But unfortunately, pretty early on, that kind of optimism at the starting 11 gave way a little bit to kind of concern because we just looked a little bit out of sorts. Really, we were very disjointed. There wasn't a lot of cohesion. We just didn't seem to be all on the same page. You had a couple of players who wanted to shift the ball really quickly, a few others who wanted to be a bit more patient, and we were quite stagnant. And conversely, I thought Hibs in the first half played with a lot of confidence, and they really they really, you're throwing me with the video. They really pressured us, and when they went forward, when they actually took their opportunities, they made us pay. So yeah, look, I just thought it was a really disappointing and disjointed first half, in all honesty. And I don't want to make excuses, but the two things I kind of look at here were Hibs were in a tremendous run of form. I think they were 12 without defeat in all competitions before the game on the weekend. And we had come back from a pretty taxing, both physically and mentally, game in Europe against Music. And I think it was always going to be interesting to see how we responded. So I know we don't try and make excuses, but I can kind of understand it a little bit, particularly on that first 45.
Yeah, just on that, Shane, like some of the comments here. So McLaughlin was saying it was always going to be our toughest game before the split. Jerry Burns is saying we always seem to struggle at Easter Road, a bit of a bogey ground. And then McLaughlin's also saying, especially after last Wednesday's effort, I'll forgive them this time. Liam, what was your take on the first half overall? And then you can talk about the goals as well. So
Well, I think it speaks volumes that Kasper Schmeichel was my man of the match by halftime. I thought he was our best player. He made some absolutely superb saves, and I think, yeah, we had an off day, but you've got to give Hibs a lot of credit as well. They clearly had a game plan, not necessarily a particularly attractive one to watch at times, but they had the plan. They stuck to it, and to be honest, at half time they deserved that 2-goal lead. We did absolutely batter them afterwards, but half time they were in command and they deserved it, no question.
yeah, 100%, Liam. Like the first half was just sloppy. It was. I'm going to say it. It was kind of. I've seen it said elsewhere, so I'm not copying anyone here, but it was kind of like the sort of level of football that you see played on the regular over at Ibrox, not from Celtic. So there was just too many guys who weren't even a 6 or a 7 out of 10 in that first half. They were struggling to be a 5. And you can't put it down to one or two players being dropped for the Munich game and then coming back in like Outta and Taylor, thinking those guys are going to come in. You want that squad rotation. So you can't put it down as saying, oh, those guys were down because they've been dropped. Or you can't, like, that's the way I look at it. You can't be thinking that's an excuse. Like, for me, all credit to Hibs. That's the way I look at it. They had a game plan. They were up and about from the get-go. Their fans got behind them, and they got the early goal, which settled any nerves they had. And I'll give all credit to them, particularly in the first half. So, yeah, overall, that's how I saw it. So, Shane, let us know about the goals.
Yeah, well, the first goal, which was Hibs pretty early on, scored. I can't remember what minute it was. It was under 10 minutes. I think it was the 4th or 5th minute. Second minute, really?
Second minute.
Wow. And I only watched that first half about an hour ago, so that's just how well my memory's doing. I watched it in piecemeal fashion again. They played it through.
Here.
They played through the midfield. Unfortunately, Calmac got caught watching the ball. Didn't see Campbell. Couldn't track the Campbell making the run into the box, and was able to pick his spot with relative ease. And it was un-Calmac-like, really. He just seemed to lack a little bit of awareness in that moment, and they were able to prosper from it. And wasn't the only time that half where he was sort of caught out like that. There was another one later on where he sort of again got dragged to a player that really wasn't in a dangerous position. So I think it was a little bit of probably an early insight into just how we're off as a collective, really. But yeah, really poor goal to concede. And it probably, just to finish up on my point, one thing that was very noticeable in the first half is their midfield was really good, and our midfield was virtually non-existent.
That's what I was going to jump on there, Shane, when I was waiting there. Like, hey, let me jump in for a second here. The thing with Calmac, on Thursday, I was saying he was just unbelievable, showed how good a quality player he is. He's definitely a Champions League level midfielder, all that sort of stuff. And I stand by that. The thing that I reckon, what would have happened is that if you had Calmac come through, say, any other week, all right, and we had enough guys there to rotate, we would have done it. Like a Bernardo would have been a perfect example. He would have come in for this game and played in the 6 after the amount of running and effort and that Calmac put in there. So, yeah, it's a bit hard for him to back up the amount of kilometres he's got on his legs, but Yeah, it's one of those sort of things where I think if we had Bernardo there, Calmac wouldn't have started. We'd already rotated out the midfield anyway with Rio. He was gassed from about 75, 80 minutes in Munich and he just kept fronting up, kept playing. So he definitely needed his break for that game. So it was definitely going to be Engels, had to be Calmac, and it had to be Luke coming in. So no excuses. Overall, they were better. But yeah, I just look at it and think Calmac, if we had Bernardo fit, he probably would have been rested for that game. Liam, what was your thoughts on the goals in the first half? Because there was a second one there we didn't touch on just then either.
Yeah, I mean, defensive frailties exposed quite badly. I think, look, Greg Taylor's been a great servant to Celtic. I'm not one of these guys who's jumped on the bandwagon hating him, whatever, but he was. I wonder if he's mentally checked out. Maybe not deliberately, but just subconsciously. He didn't seem his concentration level just wasn't there, and he was out of position for both of the goals. Trusty didn't cover himself in glory either. I mean, let's be honest, but I think it shows that Taylor was the one that got hooked at half time, and I think we all agree that Schlupp made a lot more of a contribution when he came on. So, yeah, it's again, it's where hopefully next season we'll be in a place where Kieran Tierney is our first choice left back, and then someone of Schlupp's quality, if not Schlupp himself, is the backup. Because at the moment, it's Schlupp for me is the better of the two, but I don't think either of them are really what we need long term. So
Yeah, I would have to agree. So I'm just going to look about some comments here. So McLaughlin saying, I ain't too bothered about Taylor. He's obviously made his bed.
Yeah.
Terry Burns is saying McCowan seems to be the guy they take off even when the other midfielders are having a quiet time. It must annoy him. Kilted Jedi, thanks for tuning in. Howdy, you and all the Tims in Dubai. Smell the Glove saying Luke McCowan seems to be lumped in with those other two at halftime, which wasn't fair.
I think McCowan was more a strategic change, whereas the other two were taken off because they weren't performing. But yeah, you can definitely make that association, and you're right, it isn't fair on McCowan.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I felt it was much more around just trying to G up that midfield as opposed to necessarily Luke being particularly poor. Definitely Eder and Taylor absolutely deserved to get hooked at halftime, but the midfield just wasn't, there was no energy there, and one of them had to make way. And I think, unfortunately, it made sense for McCowan to be the one to give up his spot.
Empty Seltz makes a good point here, though. No excuses, guys. If I worked hard for 18 months in Taylor's case and 12 months in Eder's case, and then some new guy got promoted over me, I'd be pissed off and demoralised. You can understand that from Eder's point of view, but then first half of the season Eder wasn't that great. Then Kyogo leaves, he gets the first spot in the striker, and he's playing well. And then Maeda, once Jota's starting to get fit, Maeda's getting played at the striker. So I can understand it. It's a bit of a weird one for me. I can't figure out the striker position, how I prefer it. Do I prefer Maeda on the left with Eder in the middle? Do I prefer Maeda through the middle? I can't figure out. It's horses for courses. But Taylor, I'm at the point with him, I can understand that. Schlupp's been better the last couple of games, and looks like Taylor's off. So at the end of the day, he's not our players at the end of the season. So, but then neither's Schlupp. So who knows? You just go with whoever's in form. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
So second half, Shane. I know we didn't even talk about the second goal, did we?
Well, kind of. I mean, there was a set piece, got cleared our line, didn't clear our lines properly. They get the ball on our right, whip a ball in. Trusty, unfortunately, didn't have the best of first halves. He's got some culpability for the first goal in terms of the space he creates. And on the second goal, he plays Campbell on, really poor. And then he could probably attack the header a little bit better too, from actually when the ball comes in. Though, to his defense, Eder is probably in the perfect spot to actually win that header and just has no awareness of Campbell being around him. And Campbell's able to nip in and knock the ball past. And, there was obviously that conjecture because it was flagged of offside. And Then you go to the replay and you clearly see Trusty playing him on, and it was really disappointing because he didn't need to be. Everyone else was up, and Trusty was the only one playing him on, and that led Campbell to score. And 2-0, it felt like a mountain to climb back with the way we were playing. To be honest, you never concede defeat, but just the way we played that first 45, that felt like almost game over. To be honest.
Liam, anything to add?
No, I just pretty much agree with everything Shane said there. It just, it was like I said, our shape just wasn't right, and I think deficiencies were exposed that need to be worked on. Ultimately, all this game means is we're going to win the league a couple of days later than we would have otherwise. But as the, there's always things to learn from defeat, and I hope that Rodgers learns that there's a couple of those guys that are at the moment are not, in my opinion, worthy of being starters.
Double down, Liam. Come on. Who's not worthy of being starters?
Well, Taylor and Ida, namely. And I think you could ask questions of Rio Hatate as well. Although he had a magnificent game in Europe, but in the league his form has been patchy. Whereas for me, every time McCown's come in, he's played well. And I don't think it's fair that he ends up being excluded.
I'd agree with you on two of those three, Liam. Definitely Taylor.
Yeah.
Ida, I think it's a bit unsettling for him, especially with the new dynamic up front with is Jota going to start on the wing? Where's Maeda going to go? So that whole situation now, I can understand a little bit of being a bit unsettled there. But Hatate is the other one I agree with you on. For me, he reminds me a hell of a lot of Oliver Cham, the way he used to play. You get him in a big game in Europe, and what does he have? He just looks like an absolute class player, like cream of the crop, 30 million pound, 25, 30 million pound player. Then you get him in some games in Scotland, and he looks like, oh yeah, it's just Hibs, it's just St Mirren, it's just St Johnson, whatever, and he doesn't really do much. So, yeah, I agree with you a bit on the Hatate front and Taylor, but I'm not as brutal on Ida on that front.
I think if I can step in just to come to Ida's defence a little bit here, and particularly on the weekend. Look, he was off of it, don't get me wrong, but I think also you've both credited Hibs with the way that they played, and I was particularly impressed by the way they set up behind the ball from a defensive structure point of view. I thought the way they set up really limited our capacity to play as well. The space between their midfield quartet and sort of their back five that they had, seemed to be back five, was noticeably small. It made it very difficult for us to play, and they kept that throughout. And they were very reluctant in terms of getting dragged out of position. They kept their shape really well. And I don't think we played anywhere near the kind of game that could get Ida involved. He couldn't really drop deep into the midfield because their midfield had control of the game and we were non-existent. But then if you're playing him leading the line, we weren't really getting balls into the box that were great either. I mean, you look at Kuhn, he's getting on the ball a lot. He was hitting the byline a couple of times, but how many of those crosses were actually decent enough for Ida to get his head on? There weren't any.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Definitely. A striker's only as good as the service he gets, and in the first half he wasn't getting any. So yeah, that is a valid point.
So I'm just going to bring up a couple of comments here as well. So Smell the Gloves saying Ida needs to work harder. Jerry Burns is saying Ida looks like a big laid-back guy. I think we need him to show a bit more aggression at times. Henrik McLaughlin is saying Rare looks burnt out.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And then Smell the Gloves saying Ida is what Big Rab Douglas was as a goalie. Got the height, build, etc. to dominate, but ain't aggressive or physical enough. Henrik McLaughlin saying Ida may end up being justification the board needs not to spend big. Well, maybe if the board pulled their finger out and actually signed him up early on, we wouldn't have had to spend £9.5 million on him. We would have got him for 5 or 6. So,
and you would have had another couple of months to bed in as well.
Yeah. So if they're going to use that as a justification, well, that's on them. Do your business early. So And then there was a question here for you from Irishman in Porto, Liam. So,
Hmm.
Liam, as the Japanese boss is favouring the two strikers who are playing in Holland, do you think he will force Dazen and Rio to leave, as he stated he doesn't rate Scottish football?
I would say no, but this is purely my opinion, right? I can't back this up, but it's just my opinion. The fact is that Kyogo and Moriyasu apparently both have the same agent. So Moriyasu has been putting the pressure on Kyogo to move to what he perceives to be a better club in order to get into the Japan squad. But Reo Hatate has always been on the fringes for as long as he's been at Celtic. Dyson has been a permanent fixture of the squad, if not necessarily a starter, a permanent fixture of the squad for a few years now. So he can, Moriyasu comes out with this nonsense about not rating Scottish football. I think he's got a personal beef with Kyogo. I don't know why. Maybe Kyogo pumped his wife or something. I don't know, but properly. But then the issue is that I think there's a conflict of interest there as well, because if they're both being represented by the same agency, then he can say, "Look, if you get a move to another club, I'll think about you for the national team." And at the end of the day, I don't think Kyogo's going to get back into the Japan squad, because I think Rennes could easily end up getting relegated. Even if they don't, is a team in the bottom half of the French Premier Ligue 1 as good as a Scottish team in a weaker league, but who are going to be in Europe every season? I don't think so. I think from an
Yeah.
international manager's perspective, if you're wanting to pick players for the World Cup, you want to see them at the top level, and the top level is the Champions League.
Kilted Jedi's got a Liam. So for me, Liam, what I'm going to say on that, it's going to sound really simple. Like I'm simplifying everything you said, right?
Yeah.
Moriyasu has said that he doesn't rate Scottish football.
Mm.
As an Australian whose national team plays against his teams, I don't rate Moriyasu as a manager.
No.
That Japanese team should be so much better than they are.
Yeah.
With the players they have, they should be so much better, higher world ranking, going further at World Cups. So if Moriyasu doesn't rate Scottish football, I don't rate him. He's absolutely hopeless.
Yeah, a mediocre manager in an exceptional team at the moment is Moriyasu, in my opinion.
Yep. So Dex saying it hurts seeing Kyogo get 0 minutes and sit on the bench now.
Yep.
McLaughlin saying another striker got on the park before Kyogo at the weekend.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not always greener grass elsewhere. So Shane, second
I
half.
wish the wee man all the best, but I really think that was a mistake going to Rennes.
Yeah.
I really think it was a big mistake. Anyway, sorry. Continue what you were doing.
Second half, Shane. Just give us your rundown on that.
Yeah, look, a lot better in the second half, and I think the changes were crucial to that. So obviously, Schlupp coming on for Taylor, running Maeda through the middle gave their defence a different sort of prospect to deal with in terms of how they were setting up. And I think Hatate added a little bit in midfield as well, but particularly Schlupp coming on for Taylor was massive. I thought he was a pretty solid contributor. And then, I think with Maeda running through the midfield, the middle, actually leading the line, it just, like I said, it gave it a different dynamic, and all of a sudden they didn't look as comfortable. And then we started to shift the ball a lot quicker as well. And that was the other thing. The pace of play that we were moving the ball at was a lot better. And it still wasn't anywhere near perfect, and probably not anywhere near the level of cutting edge that we usually see, but we were making things happen. We were putting them under pressure. And, when we got that first goal, which we'll probably go into in a bit of detail in a second,
Let's go now.
it did feel, well, we were building pretty well. And then obviously Rio scuffs his shot on the edge of the box. And Dyson doing what any good attacker should do, following the ball in, right? And there's a bit of confusion between Bashiri and the keeper. Bashiri is expecting the keeper to come for it. He's expecting Bashiri to clear it. And Dyson nips in and knocks it in. And it was definitely a goal that was coming. And all of a sudden, all the momentum was us. It was with us, pardon me. It had completely shifted. And, I felt from that point on that we were probably at the very least going to come out of there with a point, if not get all three. And unfortunately, it didn't pan out for one reason or another, which I'm sure we'll get into.
All right, Liam, the floor is yours. VAR chalked off Celtic's equaliser. So for me, it wasn't a clear and obvious error, so VAR shouldn't be getting involved. So I want you to discuss the equaliser being chalked off, why they shouldn't have got involved, and just over to you.
Right. Okay. So the VAR rules clearly state that, like you say, it has to be a clear and decisive error. That's the exact wording in the FIFA documentation. Clear and decisive error. And nobody has shown me an angle yet. Now, personally, from what I've seen, I think the ball was probably out, right? I think it was probably out. But I've seen other angles where it looks like it was in. So saying I think or probably is the best I can do from the camera angles that have been made available. So that is the best that the VAR officials can do as well, because they don't have proper VAR. They don't have the whole 3D multiple angle thing. They're going with, the sports scene cameras or whatever they are, and it's no good enough. Probably or maybe is not how you referee a football match, and it's definitely not how you administrate VAR. Now, self-promotion here, I wrote an article on axom.net about this last night, and I would encourage everybody to go and read it later on, and also please subscribe. But what I said in the article, and I'll repeat it here, is that the way VAR is being managed in Scottish football is like the way a huffy teenager deals with having to clean their room. Right? Huffy teenagers do not want to clean their room. So when their mum or dad says, get that room cleaned, it's a fucking pigsty, what do? They go in there, they do the most half-arsed, deliberately incompetent, poor, lazy job of it, so that eventually the parent just says, fuck it, I'll do it myself. And that is what they're doing with VAR. They are purposefully mismanaging it and running it into the ground so that in about a year's time, 18 months maybe, they get a Sweden scenario where the fans are demanding that VAR be scrapped, forgetting the fact that VAR is not the problem, it's the incompetent buffoons managing it that are the problem. And the fact that they're trying to do it with the Poundland version of VAR rather than a proper version of the system. Which brings me to my next point. Celtic should just step up and say, all right, proper VAR, English Premier League level, how much is it going to cost a season? 5 million quid, 10 million quid? There you go, get it done. Right, just get it done. If we have to pay for it, so be it, because I am sick and tired of the stupidity happening too often. And ultimately, it costs us nothing at the weekend, thanks to St Mirren. But one day, that is going to cost us a cup final, or it's going to cost us points in a league, which can end up costing us tens of millions of pounds if we don't make the Champions League. All because they don't want to spend an extra couple of million quid doing it properly. And that's no good enough. That is not that Celtic should not be part of any organisation that is that Mickey Mouse in their approach. Rant over.
Yeah, it's an absolute joke. Absolute joke. So, this just brings up I can't remember which of the Nevilles, I think it was Gary, doing that video where he put the edge of the ball over the line, and you look down the line it's in, then you go to the side view, and the ball looks like it's out by almost a foot. So it just shows that you can't tell that from an angle or a camera on the 18-yard box, which is what they judged it from. It's never going to work. So, yeah, Liam, I agree with you. How much do we make from Champions League? Goes into a kit. There's a certain amount that goes into a kit that gets distributed to all the other clubs. Take it out of that.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's what we should do. So I think it's an absolute joke. Should have been a draw. But the funny thing is, and we'll talk about this in a second, was other results went our way. So, yeah, have a bit of a laugh there. So, any other talking points you boys want to discuss from the game? Or do you just want to get into your man of the match?
Look, I'm happy to get into man of the match. And for me, I'm going to go, I think Liam kind of gave his away at halftime, although I don't know if that continued into the second half. But I'm going to go, it was a toss-up between Dyes and Cameron Carter-Vickers, who I thought in a team that struggled a little bit defensively, I thought he did his best to try and keep on top of things. But I'll go with Dyson. I thought he worked hard in the first half for little reward. Second half, he was fantastic leading the line. Should have had a brace, as we've just talked about, but still got on the score sheet nonetheless and was a constant threat. So Dyson, man of the match for me.
Fair enough. Yeah, for me, it's going to sound weird, but the man of the match was their goal scorer. I think he was
Campbell.
the best player on the Campbell. I thought he was the best player on the pitch over the full 90. I wouldn't even give it to one of ours. If our best player, yeah, for me would have been Schmeichel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's spot on, Jared. That's exactly how I would look at it. You know, if you've got to give it to a Celtic player, I would give it to Schmeichel. But I think there were a couple of Hibs players who were probably better. I mean, for all he was at fault for the Celtic goal, Bashiri in their defence was absolutely superb. Apart from that one mental tackle where he could maybe have got a red card, he was throwing himself into everything and, you know, laying it all on the line. Exactly what you want from a big, imposing defender. He really, I don't know if he's that good every week, but he really impressed me overall.
I thought Nectar Triandis, one for the Aussies as well. I thought he was really good too.
Yeah, I was just about to jump in. I thought he was fantastic. I mean, if you're talking, apologies, I interpreted the question as our man of the match in terms of in a Celtic shirt. If you're talking overall man of the match, and obviously Campbell with the brace, yes, but they had 4 or 5 players that were well ahead of our best player, who I thought was Dyson, right? So
there you go, Shane.
Yep, Miller, Triantis, Boyle, and who's the 4th?
No, I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Miller, Triantis, Boyle. You have to fill me in. You have to fill me in, Andrew. I don't know who the 4th is.
I'm looking at it now, trying to figure it out. I don't know. Anyway.
Jack Iredale. Sorry. Yes. And he was fantastic. Jack Iredale was Australian.
Didn't know that. So, yeah, we lost the game, obviously 2-1. And, you know, we're all thinking, oh, great. Now the Huns are going to play. And they just go and lose at home in front of the sea of empty blue seats in the last 20 minutes because they don't do walking away. And lost 2-0. So even though we lost our game, we improved our goal differential over them over the weekend. Absolute pisser. So, yeah, I just thought it was absolutely brilliant that happened. So, yeah, have a bit of a chuckle at them, boys. We'll leave the Baltimore talk to next. So, yeah, if you want to, Shane, if you want to give them a bit of lip, go for it.
Oh, it's just incredible, really, when you think about it. Like the amount of times this season and in the past, let's be honest, where there's been, you know, it's the hope that kills you, I guess, when you think about it from their side and their fans' side. It's that hope that kills you. They would have all been lapping up the result at Easter Road and hands would have been clasped together and, oh, here we go. And, you know, as if just pretending for a meager second that it was a title race in some far-off universe. And then only a few hours later to get that completely dashed in terrible circumstances, really, for them, but not for anybody else. Look, I think there's been so much said on this. I know Liam's itching, so I don't really want to take up more of his time, to be quite honest with you. I think, as I said, it's the hope that kills them. But this is we've seen this all before. Anyway, I can't hold him back any longer. I couldn't do it a few weeks ago when I hosted. I can't do it now.
Thanks, mate. You know,
you're welcome, buddy.
Thank you. I mean, here's a situation, right? Imagine, you know, you're in a nightclub, you're sitting there nursing your beer, and you look across the bar, other side of the bar. There is the most beautiful woman you've ever seen in your life, right? You furtively look at her, and she looks back at you, and she smiles. You think, I'm in here. Here we go. Oh, she's coming over. She's coming over. And she walks straight past you to the other, far more handsome, much bigger, and probably much more well-hung guy who's standing behind you. That is how every Hun would have felt about 5 o'clock on Saturday afternoon.
I was thinking we needed some mood music in the background, Liam, when you were starting to tell that story, and then as you got louder and louder, I'm like, "No, we don't. No, we don't. Go on. Where's this going?" Brilliant.
Yep. Yep. It is the hope that kills them, and that's the best analogy I can think of for having your hopes crushed so rapidly and so hilariously.
Inject those Hun tears into my veins, like,
Yes.
I'll be overdosing on them this week. I'm telling you. Oh, this is great. So
I think
after that
somebody
result,
summed. I think it was Willie in our chat summed it up best. He said Hun tears need their own channel, need their own section on Pornhub. To which I answered to him, "They've got it. It's on there somewhere between public humiliation and incest."
I think this was Willie after their result. So basically, we had I had a bunch of pictures and stuff that I screenshotted and stuff to try and bring up on the screen here, but my phone's playing funny buggers. It's not allowing me to do it today. So wanted to have a bit of a chuckle about some couple of things that happened after that. So the Huns, some of their fans put up a what was it? There it is, a Sac Philip Clement GoFundMe, trying to raise 1.2 million target. 2 donations, £10 raised. So that's still 10 times more than when they were trying to save their club they raised. So good job. Then there was, if I need to get them, the Murdy bat signal's gone up. Hastor. Then there was this tweet. James Tavernier has put more people on the dole than Maggie Thatcher. And then to top it all off, an AI image of Brendan Rodgers with a cigar at a grave site. McCoist 2014, McDowell 2015, McCall 2015, Warburton 2017, Murty 2017, Gashinya 2017, Murty 2018, Nickel 2018, Gerard 2021, Van Bronckhorst 2022, Beale 2023, Davis 2023, Clement 2025. Standing next to that, absolutely brutal, and I love it. I'm here for it. So what I want to do, boys, is we love a good hot take on this podcast. And then there was another picture of Brendan with a next. So what I want to do with a hot take is pretty simple. We're going to get 3 options: a serious answer, a silly but possible answer, and an absolutely ridiculous answer on who you think will be the next Rangers gaffer. Okay, so there was an article up in the Glasgow Times earlier that had what they have it as 4 realistic candidates for Rangers interim manager role. So I'll just start with that, and then we can just play off the back to give you some thinking time. So I'm just, padding a bit of time out here.
Thank
so
you.
They're saying Isami Shirai only joined Rangers as an assistant manager in January. So they're saying they reckon it'll be him, the Moroccan coach, previously worked in the Belgian Pro League, blah, blah, blah. Stephen Davis is for interim manager.
The staunch choice. Yeah.
Kevin Thompson. And Neil McCann. That's who they put up for it. The only one missing is Barry Ferguson.
Does Neil McCann have any qualification other than being a Hun? I mean, what? Where do they get that from?
Don't they just need staunchness?
Exactly.
So let's go a serious answer. Who do you think will be their next gaffer? Me. Derek McInnes is going to be picking both teams for their next game. What do you reckon, Shane?
Yeah, I think that article referencing Stephen Davis, I reckon, is a pretty strong possibility. I actually think that could happen and probably will happen. Not just from the staunchness point of view, but just I just don't think they'll be able to get anyone better, to be honest with you.
Liam?
Barry Ferguson. He's a Hun. They know he's a Hun, so he'll get more time than some foreigner would. And he knows how to work on an absolutely minimal budget because I've seen him when he managed Clyde. So, and to be honest, to be fair to him, he's actually not a bad coach. So he would be a smart choice for them and a cheap choice. And the fact that he is one of them would probably mean he gets a bit more time in the job to manage the mediocrity than another manager would. So realistically, I think Barry Ferguson is probably in with a shout.
All right. So Andrew Galea is saying Gerrard will be back. And then he's saying they need Kevin Muscat.
That is the sort of manager they need. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yep. So, and we'll rinse and repeat that exact comment saying they need Kevin Muscat in 6 months' time when they sack their next manager. Because that's the ongoing thing now. So if we go a silly but possible answer, what are you thinking? I've seen somewhere Barry Robson being linked. But I'm going to go silly.
Right.
But it's not possible, but I'm going to say it just for a laugh. Someone should say Bruni, just tie that and just to get it into the Scottish media to get some clickbait for them, because that would be absolutely hilarious. If you somehow got Bruni linked to it, it's never going to happen, but that would just be comedic gold.
Go, Neil Lennon if we're going to do that. Right, just go big or go home. Right,
Stole it from me. Stole it from me.
sorry. No, if we're talking about a daft one, then actually I would say, let me think. Right, a daft one that might happen. What's his name? I'm trying to remember that manager that got sacked recently. That doesn't exactly narrow it down. Shane, you go ahead. I'm still contemplating here.
Oh, you're thinking Sean Dyche with the
Aye.
It doesn't get much more Catholic sort of name than Sean spelt like that and Dyche spelt like that, does it?
Well, I mean, they are supposed to be getting sold to the San Francisco 49ers. So how Catholic do you want it to be? You know.
There's a comment there that touches on that, which I thought was quite funny from Smell. I think it was Smell the Glove, who their next coach would be.
Joe Montana.
What's that Apple TV show with this American soccer guy what's it called?
Ted Lasso.
Yeah, Ted Lasso is their new manager. There you go.
Well, I mean, I thought, like, in all honesty, I won't say it, but I'd probably put Muscat in the silly category now because I think that ship's well and truly sailed, and I think they've missed their opportunity. But the name that just came to mind was Sam Allardyce.
Aye.
They could totally get around that, and I think it's pretty unlikely, but there's a small possibility it could happen.
One thing he's good at is turning shite into mediocrity. So yeah, that's aye.
And making people believe that it's the way forward too.
Yes.
So he ticks all the boxes, right?
Ridiculous answer. I'm going to throw the most stupid shit out there right now because I've actually seen someone say this.
Right.
What's Jurgen Klopp up to now? My comment back when I saw that was, how much Dilutamol have you had? And do you need a health check arranged?
I mean, we know some of them do admire a famous German leader, but it isn't Klopp.
Please.
Don't think Klopp's ever painted any houses.
Do they not realise that every club Klopp has managed at all have their walkout song is "You'll Never Walk Alone"? I'm dead serious. I actually looked into this. Every club he's managed, that is their walkout song. The two in Germany and Liverpool. It's more chance of him coming our way than going there.
I reckon Drew McIntyre will take over.
Claymore, a few pricks. There we go.
The staunchness. They love him. They love the fact that he's staunch. They love the fact he got stuck into Sutton. That they would lap that up, surely. So Drew McIntyre.
Nah,
I look forward to the board. I look forward to the board trying to sack him though when the results aren't working. That's not going to work out well for them.
There we go. McLaughlin saying one dunderhead in work is saying Big Ange. He's not that dumb.
I mean, if we're going to get a wrestling personality, I know it should be Hulk Hogan just for the comedy value.
Where
but we are the people, brother.
Hey, you'll love it. You'll love it.
What was it?
He's known to be hanging around with a lot of right-wing fuckwits these days, so you know.
What he used to do, like these 24-inch pythons. Like, imagine him talking to the refs after the game about them not, these 24-inch pythons.
My wife been telling you stories again, huh? Anyway.
All right. So Liam, you got someone that's not a wrestling one?
No, I was going to say Elon Musk because he's already ran Twitter into the ground. Let him run them into the ground as well. Because the thing is, they would all go mental. They would cheer. They would love it if he came in. And then about 10 seconds later, when they realise he's only there to strip mine it, they would all just completely lose it. But by then, it would be too late.
Slight issue there, Liam. What's there to strip mine? The asbestos in the walls. Is that about it?
Yeah.
There's legit nothing there.
There might be some rare earths in between their ears, you know. I don't know.
Figured it out, Liam. The only thing he'd be wanting it for is the bike.
Yes. Aye.
The bike in the trophy room. That's about it.
What's her name again?
Jeez. All right. So I think we could bang on this stupidity for another 45 minutes easily. But we'll sit that there for a minute and we'll jump ahead to on Tuesday. So tomorrow we're playing against Aberdeen at Celtic Park. So we'll just quickly go through this here. How are you feeling heading into the game, Liam?
I think we'll see a response. I think that the manager will hopefully make the changes needed. I think we'll have Dyson starting up front. I think we'll have Schlupp in defence. And I think we'll win 3-0.
Oh, he's already skipped ahead
Sorry.
I agree. I agree with pretty much everything Liam said. I think you will see a response. I think they'll. I think Brendan will have drilled into them that it wasn't good enough, despite the European hangover. And Aberdeen's only recently sort of turned around a really poor run of form as well. They're nowhere near the team that we faced earlier in the season, and even the team we faced in the Cup semi-final that we actually absolutely pasted as well. So, yeah, I think there'll definitely be a response.
Yeah, so which players do you think need to step it up the most from the weekend's performance?
For me, big Outta to start with. I think Rodgers will start him again, and I think he'll basically say, go out there and work your socks off, big fella. So for me, Otta's the one. Also, Trusty, I'd like to see a response. I think he had a pretty poor game on the weekend. He's been okay recently. He's really solidified that partnership with Carter Vickers, but he was poor. And again, wanting to see a response. So Outta and Trusty for me.
Liam?
Yeah, I agree.
So are we expecting a high-scoring match, or is it going to be another tough slog? What are you thinking, Liam?
I'm going to go out on a limb and predict that we might win 3-0.
Deliberately did that for you. And Shane, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking 4-1. I don't think we'll keep a clean sheet, but I think we'll definitely respond in style. So 4-1.
Yeah. So for me, starting lineup, the only real change I'd make from the weekend would be Schlupp in, Taylor out. I'd keep Outta up top, and Outta is going to bang in a hat trick. There you go. Liam says we're winning 3-0. I say we're winning 4-0. and it's going to be a hat trick to Outta. And then Johnny Kenny will come on towards the end, and he'll be racing through on goals, trip over his own foot, and somehow the ball will just bobble past the keeper and go in.
I'd be all right with that.
Why not? Do that for a laugh. So, yeah, realistically, boys, a couple of minutes left in the pod. So let's just laugh at the Hunt some more. The magic. I love it when they lose. It just makes my day.
No,
So-
it's even better if they lose after we've lost, because you had that brief sort of 1 hour of euphoria from them, and then it was torpedoed within about half an hour of their game kicking off.
I saw this meme after the game, Liam, and it was like Celtic lose 2-1, and it's like a tree, and there's like this bear and a Rangers top just peering around it with a big grin on its face. And then it goes Rangers 2-0 like that, and it's just a tree. It's like pretty much sums up what happened.
What was interesting, just to tie on from what we were talking about with the manager stuff, is that obviously the rumour mill started pretty early on this morning about who could potentially come in, and you were seeing a lot of fanciful names get thrown around, and even things that weren't at the level of Klopp, but like I think Russell Martin's name got thrown around and so forth. And what I really loved about that Glasgow Times article I shared is it was specifically realistic managers that they could actually get in, and then proceeded to list a couple of the staunch favourites that really aren't good enough anywhere else. So I actually had a good chuckle at that article because it felt really pointed, realistic managerial appointments for Rangers going forward.
My thoughts on that, Shane, when I was reading it was, who? Oh, the staunch people love that. Oh, geez, that's terrible. So Robert Gibson said in the comments, Ferguson and McCann, two thick Huns, that's the way to go. Andrew Galea saying Big Sam must be in a home. We've got a Neil Warnick here.
Yeah, I could see that.
He loves it. Harry Redknapp.
Hasn't his dog got more money than Rangers these days?
Probably. If you want someone interim till the end of the season, Souness's appointment was Baltimore. Don't forget that. Empty Seltz is saying David Martindale is in with a good chance. He's used to working with no money. McLaughlin saying Duncan and Barry Ferguson. That's even dumber.
Aye.
And then, yeah, we just scroll through it here. MT Seltz is saying they're still about to go tits up, 17 million in debt, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then Tobias, is this a Celtic podcast? Yeah, and we've been talking about Celtic the majority of it. We're just having a laugh at them. So, our nearest rivals.
Mm-hmm.
Good fun. So, Pete McGee saying someone needs to show the San Francisco Tims just how San Francisco Tims just how toxic the history of the old dead club in Sevco is. Yeah, at the end of the day, let them appoint whoever they want. Doesn't affect me. They're just gonna. Oh, Robert Gibson. Here we go. Martindale can get them all fired up with lines of coke on match day. His connections.
I was going to say, if anybody can hook them up with delude them all, it's him.
Yeah. So yeah, just bringing it back to Celtic. We go and play Aberdeen tomorrow. Get the win. Adds more pressure onto them. Then we on the weekend we've got another big game. I think it's St Mirren. And if we can come out of this week picking up 6 more points, I don't think they will. And basically, I think we got to win 2 more games than them by the split, and the title's pretty much done. So that's what I was told. So if we can if they drop points in one of these 2 games this week, which I think they will, we win both of ours, and then we beat them in the next derby. How good would that be? Title would already be won. Then that whole wheel of death from that they have that we see all the time, meme of them saying they've basically jumped from the bottom right corner up to the top left corner saying sack manager. So, yeah, it's a good laugh. So, yeah, on the weekend, I said 4-0. Eat a hat trick. Sorry, tomorrow night's one. Boys, we'll get to our final thought and we'll wrap the pod up. So, Shane, do you want to go first?
Yep. Just want to give a shout out to First Nations artist Rico Rennie. He is a young Indigenous man who has designed the latest Socceroos and Matildas national team kits. So they're a striking collection in terms of both home and away kits. And they're really special, and I love the look of them. But what I really like is Rico is a young man who grew up in the western suburbs of Melbourne, which is where I'm from, and I've lived all my life. And it's a really proud moment when someone from this part of the world goes on to do amazing things. And I think there's nothing more amazing than designing the new national team kit for Football Australia for both the Socceroos and Matildas to wear around the world. So, Rico, wonderful job. And if you haven't checked out the kits, check them out and get them on board. They look fantastic.
Just for everyone who tunes in here or when Liam's on Axom, they're the sort of kits that Liam would wear.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Magnificent. They really are.
I don't normally buy Socceroos tops, but I would consider it. So, yeah, they're pretty class. Liam, you got a final thought?
I'll just have another gratuitous plug. If you enjoyed the Hun scalping tonight, you should see some of the blogs I've written on axom.net. It is the premier Hun scalping source on the internet now. And I will ensure that it continues to be that way. So plenty of Celtic news as well, but there will be at least one daily Hun scalping there for you to enjoy. So go check it out.
Robert Gibson has a final thought. Shall we start a GoFundMe so Shane can grow his beard back? The funny thing is, I think in 24 hours we'd raise more than the Huns did for the sacking their gaffer. So there you go.
Well, you know why the Hun fundraiser didn't work out, right? It was because they wanted 1.2 million, but somebody pointed out to them that's 2.4 million trips to the toilet in Queen Street Station for a pint. So they thought we'd rather just go with that. I know I'm recycling a joke I told earlier there, but it's too good not to share.
So for me, my final thought, pretty simple. Let us know in the comments what you thought of the new background and everything on the pod when you're watching on the YouTube and everything. We've gone the old Bumblebee sort of thing on this. So let us know what your thoughts. Would love to get your feedback. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Hail, hail.
Hail, hail.